The sun was bright over Phoenix, Arizona, but inside Marcus Cole's chest, it was nothing but darkness. It was July 12th, 5 years ago, when everything in his life ended. He still remembered the heat that afternoon, the kind that pressed on your skin like a curse. He had just walked out of his job as a school counselor, holding a coffee in one hand and a folder full of student notes in the other, when two police officers approached him. "Marcus Cole?" one asked. "Yes," he answered, confused. "You're under arrest for rape. You have the right to remain silent." His coffee dropped to the sidewalk. His fingers went numb. Everything after that was a blur. Cuffs, questions, cold eyes, the news on TV, whispers in court, the screams of his mother, and worst of all, her face. Her. The woman he had loved. The one he thought was his future. Elena Hart. They had dated for over a year. She was beautiful, smart, and full of fire. But their relationship ended badly after she grew jealous and accused him of cheating. He never thought she'd take it further. But she did. She went to the police and claimed he had forced himself on her after their breakup. The story was perfect, the tears were convincing, and in a world where belief can outweigh truth, Marcus was crushed under the weight of a lie. Though the case lacked solid evidence, the media circus destroyed him. His job was gone within days. His friends backed away. Even his own father said, "If it's true, I can't protect you." He wasn't convicted. There was no physical proof. But in the court of public opinion, Marcus Cole was a monster. He lived the next 5 years in shadows. No job would hire him. His name was blacklisted. He moved into a broken-down trailer outside Flagstaff and worked at a junkyard under a fake name. People spit at him when they recognized him. Once a stranger punched him in the face at a grocery store and called him a rapist pig. He never fought back. He just waited, and he planned. Marcus spent every night staring at the walls, whispering to himself, "I didn't do it. She ruined me. One day she will pay." Then one morning in early June, Marcus saw Elena again. He had gone to the DMV in disguise to renew an old ID. There she was, smiling, laughing, now a local talk show host in Phoenix. Her face was on billboards. Her social media was full of selfies and motivational quotes. She had a book deal. She was adored. Elena Hart had become America's brave survivor. Marcus Cole had become America's invisible man. That night, Marcus lit a cigarette, sat outside his trailer, and whispered into the desert wind, "This is the year. No more hiding. I gave her 5 years of my life. Now I'll take one day from hers. The last day." He didn't know how yet, but she was going to die, and it was going to be perfect. It was June 6th, exactly 5 years and 328 days since Marcus Cole had been arrested. He marked it on a small calendar nailed to the inside of his trailer door. Every day had a red X. The day he saw Elena again, he circled it with a black marker. That circle felt like a signal from fate. Marcus knew he couldn't just walk up and kill her. That would be too easy, too messy. It wouldn't erase the pain she caused him. He wanted justice, but not just in the form of death. He wanted her to feel fear, shame, and hopelessness, just like she had made him feel. He started with research. Elena now lived in a fancy house on the north side of Phoenix, in a gated community. Her car was a silver Lexus SUV. She hosted a live talk show 3 mornings a week and worked out at a private gym downtown. She posted everything online: photos of salads, selfies at the studio, inspirational videos, and even clips of her dog barking at the pool. She had no idea she was being watched. Marcus created a new identity: Evan Ford, a media producer from Nevada. He wore glasses now, kept his beard long, and walked with a slight limp. He opened a new Facebook account, followed her, and even left a few harmless comments. She never noticed. One night, he followed her home in the rain and parked a block away. She never looked in her rearview mirror. She laughed on a call, her voice floating out from the car window before she entered her house and locked the door. He sat in his car, staring. He whispered, "Soon." The next part of the plan was harder. Marcus needed access to her life, not just to follow her, but to get close enough to twist the knife in her perfect world. He started working part-time as a night janitor at the same gym she attended. The job was simple: mop floors, clean mirrors, empty trash. But it put him in the building, and every Thursday morning, Elena came in at exactly 7 a.m., headphones in, wearing the same blue leggings and ponytail. She barely noticed him, but he noticed everything: what locker she used, how long her workouts lasted, and that she always put her phone in her gym bag during cardio. He began planting little things. First, a gym flyer left on her car, with a strange quote scribbled, "Justice doesn't forget." Then a bouquet of dead roses at her doorstep, no card. She posted about both online, brushing it off as a prank. But he saw the first sign of what he wanted: fear. She started locking her car faster, walking quicker, looking over her shoulder at the gym entrance. Good. He moved to phase 3. Marcus rented a storage unit on the outskirts of town. Inside, he built a small space for planning: maps, a laptop, a corkboard with Elena's daily routine, a wall of printed pictures from her social media, a folder marked Phase 4, Judgment. This wasn't just murder. This was a message. He wanted her to know exactly why she was going to die. He wrote a letter, long, full of anger, memories, and truth. It began, "You said I raped you, but you were the real criminal. Now I'm the judge, and your sentence is death." He sealed it and kept it in his coat pocket. Soon it would be time to deliver it. But first, Marcus needed one final piece: her trust. He smiled for the first time in years. "Let's see how close I can get," he whispered. Marcus didn't believe in luck, not anymore. But when opportunity knocked, he opened the door with a quiet smile. It came 2 weeks after the gym job. Elena posted on Instagram as usual, this time a story. "Need help editing podcast footage? DM if interested. Local editors only, please. Pay is good." He laughed when he saw it. It was too easy. Using his fake identity, Evan Ford, he messaged her from a clean new account. He made sure it had a few normal posts, camera gear, clips from old YouTube tutorials, and a bio that read, "Freelance editor and producer, helping voices be heard." He wrote, "Hi Elena, saw your post. I live on the East Side, been editing for 6 years. Can send samples. Would love to help." She replied 2 hours later, "Hey Evan, yes please, send your stuff." Marcus had spent weeks building the fake profile. He even created a website for Evan Ford Media and uploaded a few harmless sample clips he'd edited years ago under his real name. Elena fell for it. By the next morning she had hired him. The first Zoom call was nerve-wracking. Even behind the glasses and scruffy beard, Marcus could feel the heat rising in his face as her smile filled the screen. But she didn't recognize him. Not at all. "Thanks for doing this," she said. "I've had some weird stuff happen lately. Honestly, I don't even like being alone with my phone anymore." He smiled. "No worries, I get it." They went over her podcast files. He was calm, professional, helpful. They laughed once, over a dog barking in the background. She told him he had a kind voice. He said she had strong camera presence. He almost threw up. The next few days were filled with texts, calls, and file transfers. She paid him through PayPal. He sent edited clips back quickly and perfectly. She was impressed. One evening, she messaged him, "Hey Evan, I was thinking, I have this small event next Friday. Would you be interested in filming it?" Just casual, like a behind-the-scenes kind of thing. His fingers froze. She was inviting him in. He answered, "Sure, I'd be happy to." That night, Marcus drove to the desert with a shovel. He dug a hole behind a rock formation he had found weeks ago, a place no one visited, no one hiked, no one would hear a scream. The hole was 6 feet deep. He stood over it, sweating, staring down. "This is your future, Elena," he whispered. Back home, he printed a fake press badge and packed his old video camera. He checked the folder labeled Phase 5, the event. Inside were latex gloves, a burner phone, rope, and a small vial of poison he'd bought online under a fake name. Everything was ready. But something strange happened during the next video call. Elena opened up. She talked about how hard it was being in the spotlight, how she struggled to sleep sometimes, how people expected her to always be strong. She even said, "Some days I feel like a fraud." Marcus stared at her through the screen. For one strange second, a tiny part of him hesitated. Is she human? Then he remembered that jail cell, the news headlines, his ruined mother crying on the courtroom bench, his old students who looked away when they saw him on the street. She wasn't human. She was the reason he lost everything. The event was set for Friday, 6 p.m. It would be the last day of Elena Hart's life, and she was inviting her killer through the front door. Friday came hot and dry, as most Phoenix days do. The air was stiff with dust, and the sky was pale like a faded photograph. Marcus wore a plain black shirt, cargo pants, and his press badge clipped neatly to his collar. His camera bag hung by his side. Inside it were more than just camera lenses. Elena's event was small but elegant, a gathering of women entrepreneurs held at a rooftop lounge downtown. There were cocktails, fairy lights, folding chairs, arranged in a semicircle, and a backdrop banner that read, "Her voice, her victory." Marcus arrived early, just like she'd asked. She waved when she saw him. "Evan, you're early. Thank you for coming." Her voice was cheerful, her dress pale gold and shining under the sun. No one here knew what she had done 5 years ago. No one saw the blood-stained lie beneath her bright smile. "Of course," Marcus said, returning the smile. "Where should I set up?" She pointed to the back corner near the refreshments. "Anywhere with a clean background. We'll start soon." He nodded and got to work, placing his tripod, checking light levels, and slipping his gloves on under the guise of camera care. All the while, he watched her. She moved confidently, hugging guests, posing for photos, speaking into a microphone as more people arrived. He counted 24 attendees. He had to wait. The speeches started at 6:15. Elena gave the opening remarks. "5 years ago, I survived something terrible," she said, her voice low but strong. "And I chose to speak out, not just for myself, but for all of you." Applause followed. People dabbed their eyes. Marcus pressed record. He wanted to laugh. After a few more speakers, the crowd loosened. Wine was passed around. People mingled. Marcus walked quietly among them, capturing footage, waiting for his moment. Then it came. Elena walked over to him, sipping her drink. "Can you help me carry a few things to my car later?" she asked. "Just boxes of merch and books." "Of course," he said. "Perfect." At 8:12 p.m., as the sun dipped low and the crowd thinned out, Elena handed him a cardboard box and led him down a back stairwell to the underground parking garage. It was empty, quiet, cool. Her Lexus SUV sat in the corner. Marcus set the box down. She opened her trunk. And then he struck. A quick arm around her neck, the rope already hidden in his sleeve. She gasped and struggled, her elbow slamming into his side. He tightened the grip. Her legs kicked. She dropped her keys. Her glass shattered. "No one's coming," he whispered in her ear, "just like no one came for me." But she wasn't weak. Elena fought harder than he expected. She reached backward, clawing at his face. He lost grip. She fell. She grabbed the pepper spray from her purse. PSSSH. Marcus screamed as the burning hit his eyes. He stumbled back, blinded, coughing. Footsteps. Voices. Someone was coming. He ran. He grabbed the burner phone from his pocket and smashed it on the floor before slipping out the side exit into the alley. His heart thundered in his chest. His plan, his perfect plan, was ruined. She was alive. That night, back at the trailer, he sat in silence, ice over his swollen eyes. He had failed, but something inside him wasn't done. He opened his laptop and saw her post already trending. "Attacked in parking garage. I fought him off. Shaken, but alive. I won't be silenced." She didn't recognize him, not even during the attack. That meant he still had time. He would not stop. He just needed a new plan. The next morning, Marcus woke up with bruises on his ribs and a storm in his chest. His trailer was dark, shades pulled tight. The desert heat pressed against the metal walls like a threat. But he didn't feel pain. He felt rage. He had been so close to ending it, to watching the life drain from Elena's eyes the way she drained his life 5 years ago. Instead, he was here, sore, half-blind, and humiliated. again. But he wasn't done. He wouldn't stop until her world burned. Marcus opened his laptop and saw that Elena's post had already gone viral. She was everywhere. News sites, blogs, TikTok. Survivor Elena Hart fights off attacker. Elena Hart speaks out. I refuse to be silenced. Police investigate attack on local author. She even went live on Instagram the next night, tears in her eyes, voice trembling. I could have died, she told her followers, but I didn't. I survived. Again. She ended with, to whoever you are, you didn't win. Marcus stared at the screen. No, he whispered. Not yet. He spent the next 2 days watching her every move, quietly through a cracked burner phone and fake accounts. She had changed everything, gotten security cameras, bought a stun gun, moved her car into a paid secure garage, even hired a part-time bodyguard for events. Good. It meant she was afraid. She should be, because Marcus was about to do what he should have done from the start. Not just attack, destroy, not her body, her mind, her legacy, her truth. Phase 6 began that night. He dug through her past, not the public story, but the pieces she'd hidden. With his old skills as a school counselor and access to hidden records from the dark corners of the internet, Marcus unearthed what others had missed. She had lied before, not just about him, but about others. In college, Elena had accused a professor of harassment. The school settled quietly, no charges. Years later, the professor was fired, not for misconduct, but for reputational damage. A ruined man. Marcus found an old forum post from a woman who claimed Elena once faked a stalker to get attention from an ex-boyfriend. Pattern. Marcus printed the stories, created a digital dossier, and sent it anonymously to several journalists who had praised her. Then he uploaded an old voicemail, one he had saved from her before their breakup. You know I could ruin you if I wanted. All I have to do is cry. People believe the one who cries first. He edited it slightly to remove context, but the voice was unmistakable. He posted it on Reddit under the title, The Real Elena Hart. It spread like wildfire. By the end of the week, cracks had started to show. She went silent online. No new posts. A news anchor asked on air, are Elena Hart's stories too perfect? She issued a public statement, denying everything. But Marcus knew. She was unraveling. Then the police came, not to arrest him, but to knock on her door again. This time, not as protectors, but with questions. About her past, her old accusations, the voicemail. He watched from a distance as they led her out of her home for routine questioning. She looked pale, empty, almost like how he looked the day they took him away. That night, he sat in the desert with the second letter. This one wasn't about murder, it was a confession of everything she had done, pieced together from her past lies, with names, dates, and stories. It was formatted like an anonymous letter. He placed it in an envelope and dropped it at the local news station. He signed it, A Voice You Silenced. Elena's world was crumbling, but Marcus still had one last move. The final judgment, the one she couldn't run from. He whispered to the desert wind again, like he always did. One more day, Elena. That's all you have left. Elena Hart hadn't posted anything in 5 days. To her fans, it was strange. To Marcus, it was a victory. She had gone from the voice of survivors to the center of doubt. Her publishers paused her next book release. Sponsors pulled out. Her reputation, the very thing she'd used to crush him, was now under fire. But that wasn't enough. Marcus didn't want to watch her fall quietly behind closed doors. He wanted her to know it was him. So he prepared the final piece of the puzzle, the invitation. It was a warm Saturday evening when the letter arrived on her doorstep. Delivered by hand, no stamp, no return address. Just a white envelope marked, To the Real Elena Hart. Inside, the message was typed on crisp paper. I know who you are. I know what you did to me. You lied and watched me bleed while the world cheered you on. But I'm not invisible anymore. Meet me, face to face. No cameras, no bodyguards, no lies. One last time. Come to the old Ridgeview Motel, room 6, Sunday midnight. Or spend the rest of your life waiting for the next shadow in the dark. A ghost You created. Marcus knew she would come, not because she was brave, but because she was desperate. She needed to control the story again, and this time he would be ready. The Ridgeview Motel was the perfect place, abandoned for years, sitting on the edge of the desert, just an hour outside Phoenix. Marcus had scoped it out months earlier. Room 6 had no security cameras, a working door, and no neighbors. He cleaned it, set up a small light, 2 chairs, and a hidden camera in the wall. On the table sat a file, everything he'd collected about her lies. Articles, screenshots, the voicemail transcript, names of other victims. This wasn't just revenge anymore. This was exposure. He wasn't going to kill her, not right away. First, he wanted her to confess, on video, just once, the truth. Then he'd decide what to do with her, live or die. At 11:53 p.m., Marcus sat in room 6, breathing slow, calm. He had a knife in his jacket just in case, a bottle of water on the floor, and the recorder rolling. The desert wind howled outside. Then at 12:04 a.m., he heard it. A car engine. She came. The tires crunched over gravel. The engine cut. Then silence. Marcus didn't move. The door creaked open. And there she was. Elena stood in the doorway, wearing a hoodie and jeans, face bare, hair tied back. She looked different, smaller, thinner, no camera lights, no followers, just her and the truth she had buried. She stepped inside and closed the door. "Evan?" she asked. Marcus stood slowly, then took off the glasses. She froze. Her breath caught. "Marcus?" He nodded. For 10 seconds, the room was silent. Then she whispered, "Oh my God, I thought you were gone?" He finished. "Yeah, you made sure of that, didn't you?" Her eyes filled with tears. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly," he said coldly. He pointed to the file on the table. "You're going to sit down, you're going to read that, then you're going to tell the camera the truth." "What if I don't?" she asked. He pulled the knife from his coat and placed it gently on the table. "You will." She sat, hands shaking, opened the file. One by one, her past returned in paper form. She didn't speak for a long time. Then finally her voice broke. "Some of it is true." He turned on the camera. "Say it. All of it." She looked at him, broken, exposed. Then she whispered, "I lied. About you, about the professor, about others. I liked the power it gave me, the attention. I never thought it would go that far. I'm sorry, Marcus." He stared at her. Finally, the words he waited 5 years to hear. But it wasn't enough. He stepped toward her slowly, picked up the knife. She looked at it, then at him. "Are you going to kill me?" she asked, tears rolling down her face. Marcus stood silently. Then he said, "You'll find out tomorrow." And he left her there, alone, trembling, in that room with the weight of her confession. Because he wasn't done yet. Not until the world knew everything, and not until justice tasted blood. The next morning, Elena Hart woke up on the floor of room 6. She had cried herself to sleep, curled in the corner like a child. The file still lay open on the table. Her own voice echoed in her mind. "I lied. About you. About the professor. I liked the power." She sat up slowly, shaking. Marcus was gone. The camera was gone too, but the knife still there, untouched. She didn't know if that meant mercy or warning. She staggered outside. Her car was untouched. Her phone, still in her pocket, had no new messages. No missed calls, no updates. But the video would come. She was sure of it. And when it did, everything would be over. Marcus drove straight to the city after leaving Elena at the motel. He hadn't slept. He hadn't eaten. He didn't need to. This was his last mission. The confession video was edited, polished, and uploaded to a dozen anonymous servers. One went to a national news tip line, one to a lawyer who had once defended a falsely accused man, one to a YouTube channel famous for exposing frauds, and one to the police. He included timestamps, a typed statement of what he endured, and her past patterns. Then he waited. The internet broke within hours. Breaking viral advocate Elena Hart caught in lie admits to false rape. Claims on video, Yoshirka Elena Hart exposed trending at #1 full confession released online. Some tried to defend her, said it was fake, edited, deep-faked, but it wasn't. The voice was hers. The tears were real. The files matched court records from years ago. By sunset, publishers dropped her completely. Her podcast was removed. A police investigation was reopened, and Elena Hart vanished from the public eye. Marcus didn't feel joy, just stillness. He returned to Phoenix for one final task. He stood across the street from the house where she used to live. Police tape now blocked the door. Cameras waited outside, but she never came back. She had disappeared. Some said she fled the state. Others whispered about suicide. But Marcus didn't care anymore. Because for the first time in 5 years, he had his name back. He walked into the police station and turned himself in. For what? Attempted murder, stalking, assault. He told them everything, except where she was. He didn't run, he didn't lie. I just wanted the truth, he told the detective. And now that you have it, they asked. I can rest, he said. The trial was short. The evidence was overwhelming, but public opinion had changed. He was charged with assault and sentenced to 18 months, with time served and probation. Some called it light, others called it justice. But Marcus didn't care what they called it. When he walked out of prison months later, the sky over Phoenix was blue. Not perfect, but peaceful. He got a job as a construction worker. Changed his name again, not to hide, but to start over. Sometimes people would ask, "Hey, weren't you that guy?" And he would just smile. That guy died a long time ago. As for Elena Hart, no one ever found her. But late one night, Marcus got a letter with no return address. Inside was a single sentence. I live with my truth now. Every day is a sentence. He burned it and never looked back.